Good morning, everyone. This is Jerry from People Matters. Welcome and thank you for joining our webcast today. So, our session today is brought to you in partnership with Oracle, and our topic for today is adapting to the new normal, how autonomous technology can boost HR's role in business continuity. So, we're operating in a very changed circumstance, and businesses are dealing with a number of issues, and so are HR professionals. There are a number of questions in front of HR professionals today. How do you engage team members who work from home? How do you measure employee well being? How do you enable productivity? And some bigger questions like how do you ensure that the key drivers for business continuity are in place? So, this webcast, we will be taking up some of these reflections and we'll be talking to some leading experts in HR and data management to understand how technology can help answer some of these questions. So, we'll cover a number of points, right from how is the world of work changing today? What is the role of HR in responding to this change? How should you think about your own HR strategic roadmap? And what is the role of actionable intelligence in helping companies navigate the future? So, with that context in place, I'd like to invite and introduce our speakers for today. We're joined with Ashwini Chandok, who is the Senior Director for Platform Cloud Solutions, Oracle Asia Pacific. Ashwini has been with Oracle for over 20 years now, and prior to joining Oracle, he was with Tata Motors, and in Oracle, he served various support functions, partner development, business development, program management, sales consulting, enterprise architecture, and executive management across India, Australia, and Asia Pacific regions. We're also joined with R. Swaminathan, who is the Chief People Officer for WNS Group. Mr. Swaminathan leads WNS's human resource function, and he's responsible for the entire gamut of people-oriented processes. And he's also had a career that spans beyond HR and right from operations and sales. So our partner for today's webcast is Oracle. Oracle is shifting the complexity from IT. It's moving it from out of the enterprise by engineering hardware and software to work together in the cloud and in the data center. In India, Oracle works with more than 15,000 customers across technology and applications, and with over 600 partners across private, public, and government sectors. So we've saved time for you to ask questions at the end of this broadcast. So for those of you who are joining us live, you can post your questions at any time during this session, and we will respond to as many questions as time allows. So we have an exciting topic to discuss today. So without any further delay, let me invite Swami and Ashwini to take over. Over to you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I mean, before first thanks to People Matters and Oracle for creating this platform, for us all to get together and share some of the experiences. Before I start, let me give a brief introduction of what is WNS. WNS, we are a business process management company. We operate out of 14 countries, close to around 46,000 people. Right from travel to insurance to analytics to to utilities, energies, healthcare, and shipping and logistics are the various vertical services we operate from. Now, what has happened in the last 45 days, it's unprecedented, as all of us would know. I think starting from China, we had a heads up, because we have a center in China, we knew what happened in China, considering the various lockdown that emanated. And this is completely unprecedented and different, a very presents a very different order of challenge for all of us HR professionals to handle, right? I mean, at least in our industry, we've never had close to 100% of workforce operating from home. Larger delivery locations, which is Philippines, India, and South Africa, are completely operating from home. And the lockdown 4.0 is on the cards now in India, at least, and different countries are using different measures. Now, as per my view, I think the whole phase of this change, I would broadly categorize into 5 categories. The first phase was logistics management. Technically, we were all scrambling how to get infrastructure, how to get people work from home, considering the fact that our homes in most of our operating center locations were not conducive for work from home operations. And the second phase I would call as work from home enablement, and that is mental planning and the manager's planning for the whole thing. Look, in our ecosystem, the manager will receive work, will distribute work, will review work, and represent back to the customers, right? In the new normal, he has to make possibly, if he has a span of 12 people, he has to connect with 12 people to understand how the delivery is happening. It's a very new normal for that person. The mental capacity planning, and also planning how to operate from home is a very critical factor. That, according to me, is phase two. The phase three is how do you provide secure operations at home, right? Somebody is not being supervised. We are continuing to do some banking transactions. We are continuing to do some insurance transactions. There are healthcare records being accessed at home. How do you educate, right? And also look, don't undermine the impact of workplace violence, sexual harassment, insubordination, performance, productivity. These nature of the beasts are extremely different, right? And all these can happen at home, which is normally what's happening in the workplace, but you're not there physically to engage and manage that. That possibly is where we need to think through how to do. The fourth and the important pillar is let's understand that now our office is a factory, right? You have to ensure safety. When you get people coming back to work, you're as good as a factory, right? You need to ensure all employees are safe. You need to ensure all employees are given education. You need to ensure all employees are coming in and going out with health and well-being, right? Because that's the repatriation phase. The last phase is going to be again reverse in logistics. When we say let's do work from office, that requires a different set of skill for us to do. So primarily these five pillars, which starts from logistics, work from home enablement, planning, security at home, and again logistics, are the five phases of work. And look, this is going to be a marathon. It is not going to be a sprint, right? And I think that's where we need to really, really focus on what we need to do, right? And some of the other points where I'm going to lean into in terms of what we are doing, not like, these are prescriptive as such, but we believe these are very important. One of the things we understood is, look, all teams are not going to be busy in this new normal. So typically, I have a talent acquisition team. We probably were staffing close to 2,000 people a month. So that talent acquisition team is not going to be very busy now, but they are going to get really busy after the lockdown is over and people are going to come back to work, right? Now, at this point of time, we need to ensure, and this is again a personal thought construct we have in our firm, that those companies which have their clarity of thinking and quality of decisions right will probably see through this pandemic in a far more better fashion. Because look, because the way in which we operate, since we are not supervised, there is a huge urge to demonstrate more effort. And something we also saw in our organization: 15 conference calls, 20 conference calls. Everybody is getting busy with everything. A leader doing goals and objectives. And I went and asked the leader, hey, why do you do goals and objectives? You don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow, right? So, perfect. So, three, four parameters that are going to impact us: agility, because every day is a new day. If your culture is agile, and if your organization is able to adapt, the third thing, if your organization is able to allow the leaders to have their mental faculty without a lot of clutter, that means too much of effort will not result in the clarity, because the quality of decision making is of paramount importance in this phase, is what we feel. Right from whom do you have to get back to office? Whom do you have to get back to work? Who are those customers who are not helping you at this time? Who needs to be in prioritized in service, right? All these are different decisions that have a larger ramification. So your mental faculty has to be extraordinarily clear for you to execute this. The last part where I want to say is, look, as a leader, you can all think of many things, but you should also remember a thought at your level is probably going to lead to, possibly if you have a 10-member team, each of them will probably work close to 20 hours to realize your thought. You're generating 200 hours of work. Now you have to think whether those 200 hours of work is logical enough at this point of time. And I personally believe it's okay to have some time off for certain teams and to recoup later. The last part where HR professionals you have to embrace is, you are going to face, certain employee actions, because there is an economic ramification of the organization. There is a commercial ramification organization. How do you want to engage that with as much empathy as possible? And also never to forget that right now we have to be the talent activist of the organization, right? And having said that, you know, I want to quote a couple of examples that where we use technology to ensure that we are able to reach out. So, we did a record learning experience tool management experience platform in 2 weeks time, because we almost had close to uh, you know we almost try close to if I'm getting a notification that my video is affected. Is am I clear, or should I pause?
It's fine, Mr. Swami. I think it's fine.
Yeah,
You
okay,
can.
perfect. Thank you. It was important because we have 45,000 people at any given point of time. Even if you have 10% of people who are non-productive, we felt it important that they need to be engaged and retrained on the new sets of tools and this thing. So learning experience was very important to get learning to home in a very low optimized bandwidth. That's where technology comes in extremely handy. We want to really understand how our employees experiencing this work from home. What are the pulse? What are the mood? How are they operating? What kind of help they need, mental well-being, so on and so forth. So we very rapidly introduced a chatbot that could engage with all segments of employees and understand what is that, right? So, enabling rapid technology implementation, probably on a lean and an agile platform, will give us a huge amount of bandwidth in connecting with our employees, because it's very important to stay connected, right? And it's very important. Now, the last bull in the room is you can have people operating from home, but you need to know whether they are productive or not, right? And that is the bigger question mark, right? How productive are they, right? And you need to measure and you need to enable that. The first step is to understand the productivity. And for you to understand that productivity, you need technology. You need the baseline of technology that is simplistic enough for you to understand how the productivity part is getting measured, and thereby enabling the manager to work with those segments of employees where you need to improve that. And also in our ecosystem, you need to understand the employee works in an hour which is not day. So probably the HR intervention has to happen during the time when he's working, not that you have to wake up the guy in the middle of the morning and say that, hey, I want to do an HR intervention. So common sense, agility, not a lot of effort that probably will drain you, but you must put the right amount of effort that's going to scale up the organization. And adoption of technologies that can allow you to be lean and agile and enable you to understand and engage with your employees probably are the high level segues where I will pass on and pass it on to my friend Ashwini, who will take you in some more detail on some products and tools, what they have to build some more clarity, and then we'll loop back and have a Q&A and build a discussion around it. Thank you. Over to you, Ashwin.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Swaminathan, on sharing your thoughts, specifically the points like the 5 pillars of work, the fact that the companies with managers who have clarity of thinking will thrive post-pandemic, and the couple of innovative projects that you mentioned towards the end are particularly insightful. Once again, thank you for that. So employees' well-being has always been the core focus of HR teams. And during these unprecedented times, maintaining health and well-being of our employees, providing them with a sense of belonging to a strong and caring community is even more important. HR managers are playing an extremely important role, either directly or through senior leaders, setting the tone, providing direction, prioritizing employee health along with the business sustainability. Recent article in Economist highlights how current events have brought HR function under the spotlight. It articulates that just as a good CFO was pivotal during 2008 financial crisis, a good chief people officer is the need of the hour today. They must keep the employees healthy, maintain their morale, try to minimize and empathetically manage the difficult predicament of redundancies, oversee a vast remote working experiment, maintain an open dialogue. All of these are concrete steps to ensure the employee well-being. Now, technology plays an important role to help in this endeavor. You can execute small, outcome-focused projects with minimum time, budget, and skill resource investment all aim to keep your employees healthy, informed, and productive. In next 15 minutes, I'll share some examples of such projects for your consideration. One thing common in all these examples will be that all of them can be adopted very quickly with minimal investment of your time, budget, and skilled IT resources. The very first and obvious thing that comes to mind is to leverage technology to communicate. What helps is to have a formal channel which helps you easily disseminate verified and approved information. You can share policies which might have to be updated for the current period, any updates which are relevant to all the employee base, links to trusted public sources. It could be a state government website, it could be a central government website, it could be a WHO website, some reports that you want to share, any tips or any guidance on when to do in a given scenario. All those things can be disseminated using this channel. You can also very easily add any new transactional or any new informational function to this channel quite easily. And obviously, the outcome that is enabled by all this is that there is a single trusted source of information, and it helps avoid panic and confusion in our employee base. What you're providing them is authentic, curated, and actionable communication. The next example is about proactively reaching out to most vulnerable employees and a simple way of tracking their availability and well-being. There are two capabilities to notice here. First is identifying team members who are most at risk, and second is a simple way to track availability. It helps to know at a glance who in your company is at risk. And this can be based on location. See, in our HR database, we already have the location of employees' home address and work address. And the outbreak locations are also getting publicly published. So doing a blend of both of these information items, you can very easily identify which employees are at most risk. And then you can prioritize any help that is offered to your employees. The employees in those outbreak location zones can be prioritized higher. As an example, a large system integrator, they had a similar requirement. All their consultants which are in the field, they wanted to track their well-being, and they started by giving them calls. So they managers used to give calls to 20 or people who are under them, and this was around 20-30 managers. So there were hundreds of people who were receiving these calls, and they very quickly realized it could be automated. And it just took them 3 hours to create a simple application which now enables all their consultants to do self-check-in and self-checkout. So they can identify their location, they can identify their health status. All in all, there is a central repository of the current status of well-being of all employees. This is a simple interface. It could be as simple as having 2 or 3 clicks, which tells you everything is okay. The next example is about keeping our teams productive. Again, there are 2 capabilities to notice here. First is using this time at home to learn new skills or deepen existing skills. And second, it's providing an unambiguous view of what needs to be done. So in a scenario where you already do not have a formal task tracking or a learning management system, this can help. Just as in a case of a large oil and gas equipment manufacturer who needed to track their employees' movement. So in which location they are in, which transport did they use, how much time did they spend on that location. They needed to track all this information because managers had the intent of monitoring the staff health and well-being. And also, they wanted a simple platform in which they can remotely assign the tasks and track progress. So a very simple application like this which again is created in matter of days, could easily help provide a clear view of what tasks are required by each employee, and you can make it time bound by showing that in a calendar view. And then an employee can just, with a couple of clicks, can say provide the status update of that task. Very straightforward. The next is about improving and tracking team effectiveness. Look, we all have experienced this. What can't be measured can't be improved. If today in your organization, the matrix related to performance of each team is maintained in an individual Excel file, you know that it is hard to get a business-wide bird's eye view of team's effectiveness across all managers. How do you compare all teams with similar criteria? How do you benchmark against best performing team and identify areas where very small remediation can lead to big improvements in productivity of other teams? Similar to the experience of this heating and refrigeration equipment manufacturer, who had 10,000 employees, and their legacy system was not providing them the outcome they were looking for, mostly based on Excel files. Aggregating multiple Excel files to get a complete view was extremely difficult. Very limited visualization capability, could not do ad hoc analysis. And what they needed to do was they needed to analyze the workload across the teams. What are the trends? What are the anomalies? With the intent of enhancing team productivity. And now they have an intuitive, actionable dashboard, which again they created in a matter of days. And now they are able to have a bird's eye view that they always longed for. An example of such a view is this, where you are tracking the effectiveness of team on various parameters that you see on x-axis. It could be span of control, the gender ratio, compa ratio, retention, etc. And then on the y-axis, you have various team members, all the managers with various teams. And you can then look at which teams are successful, are most effective, and then benchmark all the other teams. And you can very easily identify the areas of focus in other teams, where if you focus on that one or two areas, the impact will be actually quite visible. As always, the top talent deserves special focus. There are 2 points illustrated on this use case. First is to identify top talent. The 9-box view is always a good view, good way of identifying those in the top right-hand quadrant. Second, it's about letting your data tell you who are at higher risk of attrition. Just as a case with this electric utility company, where they prepared this HR analytics dashboard, and the intent of this dashboard was to track their top 600 performers. And the intent was to maximize the potential of their top performers, to use the profile of these top talent to attract similar talent, and obviously to prevent retention of this coveted pool. Data was from Fusion HCM, Human Capital Management System, which is an Oracle SaaS solution. And they leverage machine learning to review what are the key contributors for attrition. As an example, this is the 9-box view I was alluding to. What we want is basically, this is the top talent, the top right-hand quadrant. A dashboard like this can give you a very simple view of top-level KPIs. You have a view per person, and then you are tracking your top talent and the trend of how this pool is increasing or decreasing on a time series function. I mentioned using machine learning. So with a click of a button, you can ask for explaining the attrition attribute that you have in your data, and it will look into all the columns within your data and will tell you these are the other columns or other attributes that are impacting attrition. It could be simple things like job designation. It could be the distance from your work location to your home location. It could be salary. It could be any other things. Some things which are obvious, some things which are not so obvious. So leverage machine learning to give you that initial view in a click of a button over here. And this concept of visual dashboard can be extended to any KPI. any KPI that is important to you. Specifically, if you are only using Excel today, or number two, if you are struggling in blending HR data with other internal and external data source. This quick approach to build dashboard can really help you blend, visualize, analyze, and extrapolate from your data like never before. Be it the KPI related to workforce, whether it's headcount or it's promotion count, promotion rate, turnover related to turnover, voluntarily, involuntarily, retention by top talent, etc., diversity, your gender ratio, your ethnicity ratio, compensation, or performance. You could have a very visual view of those KPIs through time series, through projections, through machine learning, what are influencing those KPIs, what attributes. It's fairly straightforward, and you can have that in matter of weeks. This dashboard is available on mobile, it's available on a tablet, or is available on desktop form factor. So whatever is most convenient for you to make an informed decision, you could leverage that. The last use case I'll share today is about knowing the pulse on the ground. Couple of very specific and practical ways of leveraging technology to this end. Sentiment analysis. So if you have an internal Slack channel, or if you have a social media account for your company on LinkedIn or any other social media, you could do sentiment analysis of employees, what comments they are making. This is about what they're feeling. This is not what they're explicitly saying. So understanding their feelings gives you another dimension of insight, and you can then proactively address those unstated concerns. Very powerful. The other one is quick surveys. You think of something and you now want to ask all the 10,000 employees in your organization about that. It could be an idea that you have that you want to roll out, and there are a couple of options. You want to understand what is the preference of employees, or it could be a simple thing like I have to get a status check. You can just put your thoughts in a notepad, and within a matter of minutes, and I'm not joking here, genuinely in a matter of minutes, you can have a web-based survey available that you can publish to all your employees, and your employees can then provide you with a very clear empirical data set based on which you can make a decision. So to wrap this up, you would have noticed something. You would have noticed that all these examples that we discussed today are either a dashboard or a simple application. Both these building blocks can be built very quickly using autonomous technologies. And we will show a demo shortly. Many of you on the call today are our existing customers. If you are an Oracle HR SaaS customer, please leverage the free access to the Workforce Health and Safety module. If you are an Oracle infrastructure cloud customer, you can use your existing universal credits in your existing cloud tenancy. For those of you who are new to Oracle Cloud, we provide an always free tier. This is always free tier cloud account. Yes, you heard it right, always free, with enough resources for you to quickly prototype almost all these examples that we discussed today. If any of these use cases discussed today is of particular interest to you, and you feel that you would like a more detailed conversation, feel free to send a short email to gautam.kurumala@oracle.com, and we'll have someone call you and have a virtual meeting to discuss this in more detail. Now, it is always much more helpful to relate to these use cases when you see things in action. To that end, let me now pass over to Vishal, who will show you a live demo of few of these use cases. Over to you, Vishal.
Thank you, Ashwani, for such a wonderful insight. Let me share my screen. Yeah. So here, like till now, we understood that need of time is a quick response. We have implemented quick response solution for one of the utility customers.
Vishal, your voice is breaking. Can we?
Okay, hi, Deepak over here. Till we shall
Yeah.
fix up.
Is it okay now?
Okay, is Deepak over here? Till we shall fix up his internet. So let me quickly showcase what we intend to showcase for today. Okay, as I understand, the pointers left by Ashwin and Somi are about how quickly we can respond or how quickly we can respond to the situations and how quickly we can digitalize the things. So we have a very interesting use case where we work with one of the utilities where there are the delivery people who keep on sending the gas cylinders and delivering to the gas cylinders to the different areas, whether it is green zone, red zone, containment areas, and all the stuff. So they had all this was as a manual system. So a person, a delivery boy used to come, sign the attendance, and then take it forward. Then you had the dealers who used to track the attendance, collect the data, send the data to the upper hierarchies, and so on and so forth. It was kind of a thing. So basically, a time-consuming kind of a thing. But with new norms where people are working from home, so what challenge was right now to how we quickly can create an application out of this and quickly digitalize this. So we created an application. So we did not disappoint the team. We created an application. We did the design, the development, the testing, the production, and the rollout across 400 distributors in a matter of 7 days. So that is the speed which we are looking at. So in these times, you have a problem, we have a solution, but to get the solution, how quickly we can deliver the solution is the essence. Okay. Now let me quickly showcase you the application which we developed. So I'm actually signing in as a distributor I have many delivery boys which are right now over here. So you can see my screen over here. So the first thing is about the attendance. So I need to understand who is there, who has come, who has not come. So is I can mark it attendance over here with yes and no, put it over attendance against all the delivery boys, put it over here and save the data. So once I save the data, this data is available across the enterprise on a matter of go. So people at the territory manager can quickly assimilate the data, see how things are happening, have their analysis, have their views, put it over here. So as all applications, you need some way to report. Okay. So we had this attendance report, which gives me, okay, who is present today, who is absent today, and if he is absent, what are the next protocols to be taken over here. Now, with the situation coming over here, where now we are dealing with a kind of a different kind of situation. So, apart from the normal things which people require, so we quickly created at the well-being of our delivery boys. Okay, so as a delivery manager, he can just quickly respond whether he wants is if he has adequate like sanitizers or hand marks available over here, he can just quickly put it over here, save the information, and once the information is saved, it quickly goes up to the inventory and sees how things are to be taken over here. So end to end period delivered in a matter of 7 days using the Oracle autonomous technologies. Same thing, we have like always, there's a hierarchy when you try to report. So there was a distributor, and then there's a territory manager who can quickly look at the kind of simple dashboards, what Ashwin was talking about, a simple attendances to put it over here, how things are moving, who requires all those stuffs are available. So, I mean, it was a kind of a case where we wanted this thing to be rolled out quickly. As the essence talked by the earlier speaker was the speed. and the speed is what is required to do it. And it may be a small use case point of view, just the attendance and the well-being point of view. But within 7 days, using Oracle technologies end to end, delivered, productionized 400 across the 400 distributors working right now, generating the data, doing the analysis, managing their inventories, all in all, good going from that point of view. Taking a leaf out of Ashwini's earlier discussions, where he talked about, okay, what's the better way of doing the communication, okay, with the customers. Maybe quickly, I want to build some, I have some queries which I want to understand, and I want to quickly build a survey out of that. So how quickly I can do a survey. So I'm just jotted out few of my queries. Okay. So as Mr. Swami was saying it, that once the people start coming back to the offices, there is we have to take extra care of those people who were in kind of a situation. So I can quickly build kind of some queries which I want to ask to the employees, like did they travel in last 14 days anywhere? Where are they in the self isolation, red zone, containment areas? And typically, since now the things have changed, the mode of working has completely changed over here. So I need to understand whether they need some kind of training, and also as this time is there where you can either gain some new skill sets or and research on or improvise your current skill sets. So I can quickly put it over here, like there will be some revised processes, whether people are able to work from home or they need some other kind of a training. So I can quickly put it over here. So these may be some set of queries which are there, and believe me, within 2 minutes we will be able to put a survey using the Oracle autonomous technologies. So I can just quickly go on the survey, and it first gives me some of the dashboards of earlier running surveys. I can go here and say create a survey. So it says, okay, is right now creating a survey. From where you want to create a survey. So we have different templates and all the stuff, but for this, I'm just putting it from my text file. So I have a simple those queries, the queries which are here, which I have just copied over here, and I want to create a survey out of this. I go on next, put it over here, give some meaningful name to survey for say 13 May. I can say I want a self-selected. So go to the next. So choose or paste my queries. I mean, it can be as simple as this. Create a survey. Done. My survey is done. So you can see for May 13 has been done. Okay. I go it over here. Look at the survey. Now, what's the next thing I had to do? I had to begin the survey. So once I start my survey, say begin a survey, now the survey is started, and I can put a URL base, what Ashwin was talking about, a URL base. I can go, and now I'm actually wearing a hat of the employee from HR department. I have got this URL where I can quickly fill my survey. I go back as the employee. Okay, put it over here, the URL done. So it is coming, it says we care for you survey, please employee ID. I put my employee ID, I answer some things over here, and like no, I'm not doing it, I'm not living in. Do you want some training? Yes, I want to get a more enablement, and there are some kind of hygiene. Do you want a face marks or something? Put it over here. I can just put it a quantity over here. Now just submit. Okay, that's all you have to do it. So we created a survey based on our thought processes, based on our query. We created certain questions. This survey. Now the survey is done for me, and I have started getting the responses of the survey. So I go over here, say my responses, say what's the survey response. Okay, believe me, I don't think we took more than 2 minutes to create a survey. And these are some of the response which I have got from the employees. So somebody 1542 employee put it over here. Now what's the next thing I do to survey? So you can see how simplified it is using the Oracle autonomous technologies. You could quickly create a survey, and survey is basically the way we want to communicate with our employees. Quickly create it over here, then you can download it, put it as I can just quickly download it as a CSV file and put it over here, the emails and all the stuff, put it over here. So what we have basically looked till now is that we have quickly created an application where we have done it, then we quickly created a survey. The survey response was filled by the employees across the organization, and now we want to act on that kind of a survey. So coming back when Ashwin talked about some KPIs. Now I have a very basic dashboard from a human resource point of view. As Mr. Swami was saying that, well, when the recruiters, when the things will be okay, recruiters will come up, they will have lots of tasks to do it. So they will have their set of dashboards which will talk, okay, what's the hiring trend, what's all about over here. So here I'm having a KPIs. I can have a headcount KPIs, how many trainings we did it, what is the distribution of the KPIs, and I can have a beautiful time series talking about how my hiring is happening, or how my headcount movement is happening across the time series. Okay, I have a beautiful time series where my axis is time and this is the head count. So these are the very basic the KPIs whenever we look from the HR point of view. Now, now the point is, I created an application, I created a survey, I created a communication, I got answers from my employees. Now, how I blend that? Now, how I blend the external data with the HR dashboards using Oracle autonomous technologies. So you can go over here. So this is your standard HR dashboard where the data is coming from the details. You can go it over here and say add the data set. So once you go say add the data set, you say create a data set, and I'm actually dragging right now the external data set. So from the HR point of view, from the KPIs point of view, this is HR, this is an external data set. And with respect to what we did, it is a survey kind of a data set, which we are going to blend it with our main HR data set. So I just go it over here, say requirements. That's nothing but my survey data. So you can see it's coming. How many are in self-isolation? How many are traveled? All the responses which have been employees have put responses. Those are captured over here. I say it is my survey. I can time it make, and I just say add it. Now, once I add the survey data, the external data, to the data sets or the HR KPIs which are available with me. That's what it's called as a blending of the data. Data can be from any sources. Now this is my HR data, and if I collapse it, now this is my survey data which has come up over here. So you can quickly see the survey data. Okay, I just browse it over here. Now this is interesting one. Okay, now survey has happened, and this is my distribution of headcount by the job levels. And within this, I want to understand how many people or how many people across this job levels are in a self isolation or have gone to a self isolation. I just take it, drag it, and drop it over here. So now what my dashboard says, most of people in the job role clerk are in a self isolation. Around 34 people have responded to my queries that they are in a self isolation. Or I may say, okay, I don't worry about the self isolation as of now because they are still working from home. I want to understand the training requirements. I just take the training requirements and drop it over here. just drop it. So, so let it refresh. The training requirements will come as the within this training requirements will come up as the as by job locations. Okay, so it's searching right now. Wow. So this is what we understand. So most of people in say clerk job are saying they need a workforce enablement program to be run. So what I can do is I can respond quickly, create some kind of a learning curve for those employees, send a individual learning curves. So my training conducts will happen over here. So that was the way we blend it. We don't stop it over here. Okay, we don't stop it over here. When we have collected the information about the requirement of essential commodity like face mask or put it over here. So referring back to what Ashwin told, a right-click ML kind of a thing. So I'm going to actually do a forecasting and try to understand for next 3 days how things are going to look like. Okay, I'm going to say add a stats and just say forecast. Okay, just say forecast. So I have a time series data which is coming over here where there are time series. Oh wow, I got it. I got it. So without actually being a AI ML person kind of a thing. So that's what the beauty of right click with Oracle Autonomous Technologies. There's lots of things happening at the back end. So, but with the Oracle Autonomous, you can quickly put it over here, see how what is the requirements, how the things are happening over here. So all we saw it was like we created applications, we created a survey, we blended the survey data with our HR KPIs, quickly put it over there, and then we are actually going across. So I just wanted to highlight another interesting thing about the Oracle Autonomous Technologies. Now what happens is that like I always refer these as a very kind of, it's very difficult to see when my count peak is happening, when the low is happening, and all this stuff. So but what we at the Oracle Autonomous Technologies, we have made your life a bit of easy. Okay, we say, okay, just narrate this graph to me. So what basically happening is that this graph becomes a simple English kind of thing for me. So when I talk about simple English, it gives me, okay, it's not giving me only trying to interpret the graph, but it's also giving me the stats of over here, like head count between what the dates are there, at least one head count is missing, what's the lowest spike, and all those stuff. So this is the piece of the NLG. Behind the screen, there are lots of machine learning algos which are getting generated or which are getting put it over here, and then we're looking over here. So what we saw is what Mr. Swami and Ashwin talked about. I say small outcome projects. That's one thing. When you talk about small outcome projects, means the speed has to be really good, and we have to deliver all these projects on time and in a faster thing. And then I talked about the Ashwin talked about some adoption pieces, how you can quickly adopt a third party data, do the blending with the your HR data, and take it forward from where we have left from the analysis point of view. Now we saw is a quick thing, small projects, quickly put it over here. Now in this today, we have taken an example of attendance or surveys or something like your KPIs. And I believe I'm 100% sure the all of you will have a need, a different needs with you. So all of you having certain needs, so you can just connect to Gautam.Kurmila. I spell it for you, Goutam dot Kurmila at oracle.com, and we can get in touch with you, take it from there. And with this, I'm handing over back to Jerry from People Managers to take it from the Q. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak. Thank you so much. That was fantastic. So let's go on to our questions from the audience. So our audience has been asking questions all through. Let me start with the first question. This is for Swami. I think Viren is asking if HR chiefs have done a good job in employee well-being across sectors. I guess could maybe talk about your experience about what are some key learnings on employee well-being from your industry context or your company context, Mr. Swami.
Yeah, so thank you. And I presume all more than HR, all companies would have done well from an employee well-being because because in this unprecedented time, I think most of them ensured that the employees are safe. The work from home got created probably in flat 10 to 12 days, where I presume in the industry almost more than multiple lakhs of people went home working, right? Some of the critical example, what I would like to highlight is, look, as a country, we've never emphasized more on mental well-being, right? And I think those organizations that took a leaf out of the book and started focusing on mental well-being of employees, because this is a new environment altogether. And how do you enable mental well-being? And look, mental well-being of stress can be countered through a proper time management kind of a program. Let's say, for example, the most leveraged program on the net is on productivity tools to work from home and time management. Look, you manage your time better, probably the stress that is getting out from the work will probably go less. So I think that is one simple example I want to lay out on how people look at well-being, right? Second thing also, most companies are doing, and even in our company did, to ensure there is enough of physical fitness, while employees are operating from home, so that the team work, there is team meetings, there is team engagement that were done virtually to ensure that we are able to, have the right kind of, endorphins released in the body to keep you alert at work, right? I mean, so there is from a multitude, and also organizations have leaned on multiple platforms that can enable habit formation. So in our company, we have a habit formation app. Probably it can start as simple as drinking water at the right interval, can go to as complex as uh, you know something like fitness regime and number of steps and so on and so forth, so that you create good habits. So that's probably, I want to leave an example before we can take other questions.
Fantastic. That's great. So let's go on. We have a bunch of questions on the product and on the demo. So I'd request Ashwini to probably take these up. So there are questions about what is the name of this tool? Is the tool available for free? And I think one of our viewers has asked, is the safety survey application available for all the customers, and so on. So, Ashwini, would you like to take this? I think you're on mute, Ashwini. We can't hear you.
Uh,
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, thank you. All right, so very pertinent questions. Let me answer the first question around the free cloud account. If you go to oracle.com, on the top right hand corner, you will find Try Oracle Cloud Free tier. If you click on this, you basically get your access to your free account. And there are two components to this. One is the always free tier, which is for, forever it is free. And then for 30 days, it gives you around 300 US dollars worth of credit, which is enough for you to try out range of other services. But let me focus on this always free tier, because this is actually quite useful. Most of the stuff that we showed today required a component called Oracle Autonomous Database. And this always free tier account gives you two of those. So what you can do in this is you can leverage a feature of Oracle Autonomous Database called Application Express. This one, Oracle Application Express. This was the tool that was used to create the survey, to create the application that Deepak shared to you. And it's a low-code environment where with click of certain screens, you can create your application. Now, you know Gautam's email ID. If you would like to discuss your specific use case, just send a short email to Gautam, and he can then have one of his team members talk to you and provide you with the introduction, a little bit more deeper introduction to the tools involved. Today was not about tools, and today was not about technology. It was about sharing some ideas of how it can really help. And if there is any mental barrier around either cost or time or skilled IT resources, we just wanted to share that none of those barriers are actually applicable. If you have an idea, possibly in matter of days, you can have that idea rolled out to all your employees. That is the power of autonomous technologies, because it makes things very, very simple. Your idea to actual implementation is just a matter of you taking that first step.
Fantastic. That's great. One question for Mr. Swami. Swami, you spoke about, how not all HR teams are really active at this point, right? And how maybe the recruiting team may have to prepare really for the onslaught of work post lockdown. So, how are you managing some of the HR team's work right now? And what is the role of technology in easing or planning these things? How are you managing that?
So great question, Jerry. Let me take example, right? For the recruitment team, if you ask me, we have meaningfully got them engaged with respect to a lot of resource management kind of a work right now, right? Because if the recruitment is not there, we are because look, it's a new normal. Some clients are ramping down, some clients are ramping up, so we basically are leveraging these teams in that kind of a work, right? In terms of one of the most busiest team is the learning team, because there is a lot of people who need to be re-enabled, recrafted, reskilled, get them to the digital part. So basically that is kind of so from a tech perspective, if you ask me, getting to an employee at home is always through a technology right now. There is no other choice, right? It's either telecommuting, either through systems, or either through products like Ashwini spoke about and Deepak showcase, some way or another, right? But within the team to calibrate to say that, there'll be some people who might not be running at 200 uh, you know 200 meters by a sub 10 seconds, and some teams will be running at possibly 200 meters in 10 minutes, and we just have to balance that off. And that's possibly intuition of management rather than technology, right? You know which teams are busy, you know which team needs to be stretched, and you plan it out, and you have a leadership team to enable that. So more than technology, it's about the skills of management that comes more into forte, and you leverage technology to implement the strategy you have built from a management experience.
Fantastic. That's great. Our next question is from Viren, and he's wants to know if Oracle has built or incorporated any employee continuity plan as part of business continuity plan. I think some of these were showcased, Viren. So, is there anything else you would like to add, Ashwini, on that point?
So I'm not sure if I'm getting this question right. There is a component of business continuity plan which comes from pure infrastructure and application availability perspective, where the idea there is that I have a core HR application, I have a core ERP, and it's only there in one data center. And is there a way we can have a DR strategy? But the
Yeah.
other thing, I think there is IQ, EQ. I think it's more around employee side of things. Viren, if you can possibly have a quick chat with Gautam offline, and if it's more functional in nature, we can then discuss on those lines.
Right. Right. I also wanted to ask Mr. Swami the question about agility, and you spoke about leaders having, this mental capacity to take the right decisions. How are you ensuring some of that from an HR standpoint? How are you supporting leadership, and how do you think HR should support leaders at this point? Because there's a lot of information coming from all sorts of directions.
Yeah, I think the job of the HR goes beyond an employee engagement part here, right? I mean, look, every leader is supported by an HR leader in our ecosystem. I presume most of the world operates that way, right? And you are typically like the conscience keeper, and if the business leader is not able to prioritize, it is pertinent on the HR leader to help the business leader prioritize, because and again, what happens in our world, typically, and not restricted to my organization everywhere, right? There is a huge competition on effort basis that happens, right? That am I doing more calls than you? Am I doing more work than you? How many calls have I been a part of? And everybody wants to talk about how busy they are, right? probably a good metric when you are not very focused on outcome, but you have to force your leader to understand what he or she needs to achieve. What do they want to drive? What are the answers they are seeking for, right? And considering the so many variability of the macro and the microeconomic variable embellishing towards an organization dynamic so closely right now, what happens is a change in an announcement yesterday evening by a head of state will make change to your approach to how you want to run your business today. So whatever you thought yesterday might not necessarily hold good, right? So you need to be agile. You can't get stuck that, hey, I spoke to 100 people about a strategy yesterday, which is not, which is not workable right now. And you should be fine with that to go back to those 100 people and said, hey, you know what we thought yesterday, basis yesterday's information doesn't hold good today, right? So this is about flexibility and agility. And then basically, if in this dynamics, if you have your mental faculty clear, and that's why I said HR is the talent activist. Look, you have to represent the talent in the company, right? And you have to say these are the right decisions you need to take. Maybe it's safety, maybe it well-being, maybe it reward, maybe it recognition, maybe it training. You have to keep the business very honest, and I think that's where we have to stand tall, and convince and influence our stakeholders for the right direction, and also keep them conscientious about how do they keep their mental faculty clear and also reflect back them to them on their quality of decision making. I think it is not a straightforward answer, Jerry, but it's some total of various things that comes together probably can enable your leaders to think that way.
That's great. That's fantastic. Okay, so we're out of time. So thank you, Mr. Swami. Thank you, Ashwini. Thank you, Deepak, for sharing those great insights and for also showcasing the potential of technology here today. If you have any other questions, I would request our audience to continue to send them. We will help you with our speakers offline. You can connect to them on email. So with that, it's a wrap of today's webcast session. We'd like to thank also our partner for this webcast, Oracle, and our speakers uh, for sharing their invaluable information with us. So you can also provide your feedback if you're joining us and you'd like to share something about this session and what you thought about this session, because your input matters to us. So that concludes today's webcast. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Stay safe.